I'm Bill Drake, President of Friends of Sierra Rock Art. Thank you for taking part in our site monitor training. This is the classroom portion of the training, after which we'll have an all-day field session. Site monitoring is extremely important for helping protect rock art sites in the Sierra. It's also a great opportunity for you as a site monitor to have an intimate experience with some very special places. Friends of Sierra Rock Art was founded in 1990 to study and protect the Native American rock art of the Northern Sierra. For over 30 years, we've worked with the Tahoe National Forest. We've also done work with Native American groups, Bureau of Land Management, and other entities. And we've done a lot of public education. We're the first non-professional organization to be awarded the Society for California Archaeology's prestigious Helen C. Smith Award for significant contributions to California archaeology. This classroom training is fairly involved. We'll be doing a slide presentation, obviously with verbal comment. So feel free to stop and pause and study the slides. Our brains don't work real well trying to read something while also listening to something at the same time. So take your time and do whatever you need to do to assimilate this material. We will have a quiz related to this. We could say it's an open video quiz, which we will get to you and you can fill it out while you watch the video. You'd have to turn it in before you do the fieldwork part of the training. I'd like to thank the Briar Patch Food Co-op in Grass Valley, California for giving us a grant to finance this video. And also Carolyn Ivy Cohn, our remarkable videographer who makes this possible. I am joined today by Nolan Smith. So at this point, I'll turn this over to Nolan.
Hi, I'm Nolan Smith, as Bill introduced me. I retired from the Forest Service and worked as an archaeologist in the Tahoe National Forest for many years. I'm also a board member of Friends of Sierra Rock Art. And this presentation will be for the monitors, prospective monitors for Friends of Rock Art, and we really appreciate your monitoring and taking this session. Now the introduction. This is a Friends of Sierra Rock Art training session. We appreciate all you prospective monitors taking this training session. There will be a field training class to review everything we discovered or going through on today's session. So please enjoy the session and take the time to go through the slides. Several of the slides have a lot of text on them. We will not be covering all the text. So stop, take a look at the slides, read through it, and then move on at your own pace. This is a self-paced program. Policies and laws. There are three major ones that I'd like to discuss today, and they are the Antiquities Act, the National Historic Preservation Act, and the Archaeological Resource Protection Act. The Antiquities Act of 1906 was brought about because of many different sites in the Southwest were being destroyed due to vandals. The act provided for 90 days in jail and a $500 fine. The National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, in that act, Congress declared that the spirit and direction of the nation are founded upon or reflected in its historic heritage. Please review the rest of this slide and it will give you a better idea of what Congress was, why Congress was saying things, why they enacted this law. This law enacted Advisory Council on Historic Preservation and National Register of Historic Places. A classic example of the National Register listing is Mesa Verde National Park. The purpose of Section 106 was it required the major federal agencies to afford the council an opportunity to comment on undertakings. Section 110 of the Act sets out broad historic preservation responsibilities and intended to ensure that historic preservation is fully integrated into the ongoing programs of all federal agencies. The Archaeological Resource Protection Act of 1979, also known as ARPA, actually post-dated the Antiquities Act, and it provided teeth. And then in that, it created, it made any damage to sites a felony as opposed to a misdemeanor. First-time offenders could be fined up to $20,000, and second-time felony offenders up to $100,000 and 5 years imprisonment. Also, any equipment utilized in commission of the crimes could be confiscated, as they do in drug cases today. Same thing. Now we're moving on to the prehistory of the Northern Sierra Nevada. First question you ask, well, how did Native Americans get to America? Well, basically one of the thoughts was they followed the mammoths and bison roaming across Beringia for thousands of years. At that point, people did too. You're going to see a little video clip here, and it shows the paleo environment, Beringia, how it changed from 20,000 years ago down to 10,000 years ago. You can see how the sea is receding, sea is increasing, excuse me, and the land and the ice bridge is evaporating. Basically, 10,000 years ago, you could have walked across. Today, you cannot. In addition to land routes, there's some evidence of possible Pacific Ocean crossing. This slide here shows you taking people from the Philippines or Southeast Asia traveling across to Central America. That's another way that migration might have happened as well. The earliest known culture, distinctive culture, is the Clovis, and that is based on projectile points as well as associated artifacts. You can see on the point itself, there's a flute, and you see a point of a flute like this. It's about, a third of the way up. That's characteristic of the Clovis Complex, and that was found in New Mexico, state of New Mexico. The paleoclimate of the Tahoe Sierra area is listed below on this slide. Go ahead and take a look at this, and it just tells you the climatic regime over time. I'm not going to discuss it at this point. One of the many prehistoric chronology of the Northern Sierra Nevada mountains is attached on this slide. It was done by Robert Elston, Stonetta, Douglas, and Peter Myers. If you can see in the slide, it shows you the date ranges, the name of the phase, as well as the diagnostic artifacts. You see desert series points, Eastgate points, and so on. The next slide shows you what the points look like. So I would suggest when you're doing the sessions to toggle back and forth between the previous slide and this slide. This will give you a better picture of what they look like. Ethnographic background of the Tahoe National Forest. This is a very skimpy background because the time frames we have. Very simply, the watersheds were centered around Lake Tahoe and utilized both sides of the Sierra Crest. The Nissinan, or Southern Mighty, they inhabit the valley and footy region of the western slopes of the Sierra Nevada. More information can be found online. Just type in Washoe or type in Nissinan. You'll find a whole bunch of information on either group. In 1966, Louis Payne completed his thesis, Prehistoric Rock Art in the Northern Sierra Nevada, and his work defined several different styles of rock art in Northern California. I'm not going to go through each one of these. I'll let you read the slide. Just saying that the bottom one, style 7, is what we'll be discussing today, the High Sierra Abstract Representational. Again, only style 7 will be discussed. And there's a classic example of some of the styles of the petroglyphs. The High Sierra Abstract Representational is mostly on the Tahoe and El Dorado National Forest. That said, it does extend as far north as the Alaska National Forest, and there's been new areas added to that down below. Morris people range from 1,500 to 4,000 years ago and thought to be the originators of style 7. As you can see here, 99% of the time, the sites are located on horizontal or sloping rock surfaces. Oftentimes they're glaciated surfaces. They're never in rock shelters or caves, and oftentimes they're along streams, mid-slope benches, river tops, and so on. Metasedimentary rock formations such as this provide stratification, and you can see here there's 2 white lines going through the rocks, and right in between the lines, Native Americans utilized the constructed petroglyphs here, X's or loop designs, and this is a complex design that they often utilized. Styles and petroglyphs often are abstract, consisting of circles, wavy lines, zigzags, and other arrangements. I'll let you read the rest of this and take a look at the photographs at your leisure. Variety of rock types are utilized. Notice often you see a reddish rock, and they scratch through that, which made a lighter surface underneath it, so the petroglyph would stick out much better. Granite crops are used as well. Superimposition, which is a glyph over another glyph, is rare, but it does occur. Several researchers, including Payne, Gortner, Foster, and Smith, and others, have noted there's a possible association of style 7 rock art to Martis Complex artifacts.
Now we're going to take a look at some aspects of rock art sites, starting with significance and value. Rock art can give us a clue of how ancient people looked at the world in which they lived. This does not mean we can understand the meaning of some of their images. In fact, in most cases, we cannot. For example, you can have an image of a bear paw, which is very common among Martis sites. We know that is a symbol of bears and the power of the bear, perhaps, but exactly what it meant to the people that made those images is anybody's guess at this point. The value to us as visitors and site monitors is that we can find these sites inspirational. They can inspire us with admiration, with awe, with appreciation, and because we generally can't know the meaning of the rock art, with a sense of mystery as well. Legal status, Nolan covered the essence of some of the laws that regard cultural resources. But this reminds us that the one importance of site monitoring, of your role, is that you document sites. So every time you go out to a site, you create a document of the condition of that site. So when there's damage or theft, if there's a record of what the site was like before the damage or theft took place, as well as after, that can be used in prosecution of people who are responsible. So that's one of the important purposes of site monitoring. Current cultural significance. On the Tahoe National Forest, most of the rock art dates from 1500 to 4,000 years ago. Most of it is made by what's called the Martis Complex, which Nolan touched on. And they were the ancestors of the Washoe tribe. So these ancient sites in the Sierra, most of them are very special to the Washoe people today because it was made by the ancestors and can have a sacred nature for them. So it has spiritual and cultural importance. Also, a lot of these sites were used by other tribes after the Martis people, in some cases by cultures even before the Martis, but certainly tribes like perhaps the Nisenan that might have used the same area or the same site that was made by the Martis makes that site also important for the contemporary culture, like the Nisenan, for example. This slide points to what perhaps is the oldest rock art in the world, and that's it goes back to at least the Upper Paleolithic period, which is tens of thousands of years ago. I'll point out that for more insight on rock art sites in our region, Nolan and I did create a video, which is linked to on our website and also on YouTube. It's called Ancient Petroglyphs of California's Northern Sierra Nevada. So if you go to our homepage on our website and go to the image gallery, we have a 48-minute video there that discusses a lot more about rock art and has a lot of images of sites in our area. Now we're going to look at etiquette at petroglyph sites. And etiquette is very important. Some activities can do harm to petroglyphs. In some cases, certain activities can interfere with dating methods and other research methods. We do keep locations confidential to try to prevent vandalism. And keep in mind that these places are sacred to Native people. So next we have a list of guidelines for site etiquette at sites. You can look over this list at your leisure. I'm going to go through them individually. First, don't walk on glyphs. And that's simply because in our region, almost all the petroglyphs are on gently sloping surfaces, as opposed to a vertical surface, which is more commonly the case in the Southwest and some areas, some other areas of California. So walking on petroglyphs, particularly with hard-soled shoes, can eventually very gradually wear down the edges of the petroglyphs. So we try to walk around them and not on top of them. As far as using walking sticks, and in this example, number 2, the walking sticks used to point out an image, but we have to be very careful in terms of using on the rock surface. A lot of the rock, particularly the granite surfaces, exfoliate very easily, they crack very easily, and a walking stick can do damage. So we're very careful not to use them around rock art sites. Chalking of images, number 3. This is another habit that's no longer accepted. It used to be used by archaeologists in the past, but we avoid introducing any foreign surface to petroglyphs. It can interfere with dating and also have other impacts. So we do avoid chalking. Number 4, not using your fingers to trace the outline of a glyph. This can seem kind of harmless, but again, that's introducing oils, a foreign surface, foreign element into the glyphs. And just keep in mind, we do take great pains to do anything which might possibly impact petroglyphs in any way. Number 5, obviously no painting or scratching your glyphs. Number 6, posting of photos on the internet, and this is something we try to avoid without permission. Photos can contain geotagging, which can lead to site location information. And there's an example that's noted below of John McAfee, who is a famous software antivirus producer, and he was actually being sought for murder, and somebody posted a photograph of him, and unbeknownst to the photographer, within that photograph was a coding that allowed authorities to get his location and arrest him. So that's just one example of how this information on the web can lead people to location information. Number 7, don't take GPS coordinates with your phone or post location on the internet. That's a lot of what we've been talking about here. People do look up this information. They do try to find sites, and in some cases end up doing things that are destructive to sites. So we take great pains again to honor the confidentiality. Number 8, don't camp or build campfires at archaeology sites. And you can see in the lower left corner of this picture where a campfire has been created, and this is one of the sites we monitor. So in this case, we took out the charcoal and replaced that area with rocks to take away the example of building a fire. And number 9, don't remove anything from the vicinity. In this case, we have actually some artifacts there from tool making in the photograph there. But artifacts do give us a lot of information about a site. So you're very, very careful not to remove anything from a site, recite. If you find some artifacts and have questions, you can share that with the Tahoe National Forest archaeologist or your site monitoring leader. Number 10, if you see someone damaging glyphs or stealing glyphs, you don't want to put yourself in danger. If you can, photograph the person or vehicle, but don't do so if that, again, puts you at risk, but do call the Forest Service and report the activity as soon as possible. Now we're going to look at identification of vandalism and natural disturbances at sites. And again, we've got a list of these things. And again, I'm going to go through these individually, so you can stop and look at this at your leisure. Scratches in or near glyphs or on glyphs. In this photograph, this is a petroglyph. If you look carefully, you can see where there's scratch marks that are made in some of the glyph grooves and around them as well. Obviously, this is not a good thing to do here. Chalking glyphs, we've already talked about that. That's something that also is considered a disturbance. Carving names or motifs, of course. This is at a really large site in Nevada County, which is heavily vandalized, unfortunately. Painting on or over glyphs, another obvious thing that's destructive to rock art sites. Outright theft, here we have an example of where someone went in and chipped out an image or panel of rock art to take home for whatever reason, and highly destructive to the site. Gunshots, we do find that in California. This is a picture from the Southwest, but yeah, in the Western United States, that is an unfortunate negative aspect. Equipment damage, that picture there, that's at the Donner Summit site, which is a public site used for educational purposes. And in this case, the construction equipment just went right over the petroglyphs and left its marks over the images, which is rather shocking and obviously destructive. Natural exfoliation, this is very common in the Sierra with our particularly granite surfaces. And this is from, the freezing during the winters, and then the thawing often causes the outer surface to flake off. And unfortunately with it, a number of petroglyphs images also disappear. So this is a natural destruction that takes place. Acid rain, a little hard to document, but over time, acid rain does have a negative impact on rock art surfaces. Windblown dust damage, you do see this in areas where constant wind does wear away the outer surface and petroglyph images. Spalling from fires, obviously fire season brings this risk, and you can see an example here where intense heat caused outer surface of rock to flake off. And then lichen damage, and this is an example of an image, a photograph taken in 1992, and then again 2019. And in spite of the different coloration from the picture, you can see a definite increase in lichen that's gradually covering up this image. And a number of our sites in this Sierra are gradually disappearing because of lichen. This is one importance of making site records and monitoring sites, so you can hopefully have a record of what is at the site before it might disappear from something like lichen. And I should mention that we do welcome a variety of site monitors. Here's one of our early site monitors, just got dropped off from the car and going into the field to check a site.
Recognizing artifacts and features. Artifact is a human-made object. Feature is an object which cannot be removed without destroying it. As you can see, like in the case of archaeology, you have lithics, which is a chipstone artifacts, waste material from manufacture of points and other objects. And the feature, this photograph here is a ceremonial feature from the Southwest. You can see if you try to take that away, you break it up and you wouldn't have a feature. So we're going to review some of the artifacts that we might find out on the ground. It helps you as monitors to identify some of these things. It helps you out to determine, hey, this is actually a site. So what we have here on the Tahoe National Forest, basalt is a primary toolstone material that we have to manufacture artifacts out of. You can see there's a biface, which means it's been worked on both sides. On the left, in the middle, you have a scraper, and on the right, there's a projectile point. Historic artifacts are, you can see here, you can read through that, so you might find those on a site as well. Lithic scatter is the basic site that we find out in the Tahoe. They're most prevalent, and that is the scatter of chipstone artifacts. You can see here one, the Forest Hill Divide in the upper left, and you can see there's a handful of lithic artifacts. Having said that, these artifacts were found on a site on the El Dorado, and what we did is we located all the locations of all the artifacts. We shot them in with compass bearings. We took measurements in the field. We took pictures of the artifacts in the field prior to putting this on somebody's hand for photographic purposes. After this, the artifacts will be accessioned, we give the numbers, which will relate to the site so we can return at any time and know where these artifacts came from. There's a chur artifact in the photograph on the right. There's points on the lower left, and there's a lakeside lithic scatter. As you can see, a lithic scatter does not really come out very well in photographs. Individual artifacts close up do come out pretty well. Back the upper left-hand corner, you can see where those pin flags are, those pink flags. Those are where the scatters are. Okay, so moving on here, we have some of the artifacts you may see out in the woods or at a site. There's an atlatolite. There's a basalt biface, again, a hand milling implement, basalt core, basalt drills, obsidian point. You can see the red arrow pointing to that. Obsidian is kind of unique in that we can source it, we can tell where it came from, and we can also hydrate it, which we can give you an age. Basalt, we can source that and tell you where it came from, assuming we have all the sources in both cases identified. Features we might see out in the woods would be a petroglyph panel on the lower left. You can see that, it's very clear, very distinct. A bedrock milling feature with the north arrow on it. On the right, you can see a bedrock mortar also. So you can see the cups there on the right, very distinctive. On the bottom, you see a rock cairn. This is non-archaeological, and I know the Forest Service does not appreciate people building rock cairns out in the woods on their own. So if you see those, you can destroy those, with the exception of what we call ducks, which have 3 rocks on top of each other, and they outline a trail, usually going over a rocky surface, so don't destroy those. But something like this, take it apart if you like to. If not, just leave it. This is a rock ring feature or a hunting blind. You can see it has a great view over the horizon. Usually in the middle of these, you will find some lithics or chipstone artifacts, but not in all cases. Site records. Since the 1970s, there are many iterations of the site record. The reason we're going through this is because you'll be looking at site records and going through those to find the sites and see what is out there before you do your monitoring. You'll take your monitoring record in hand with the site record and go through this together. I'm gonna let you go ahead and just review some of these things that are on the site record. There's more, this is just the highlights. So the site record has its basic identifier, has a site name, GPS location, township and range, UTMs, owner, and things like that. And so I would suggest you take a closer look at this. If you have any questions, contact myself or Bill Drake. We'll give you more information on that. If you take the field course of this, we'll go over this more extensively. This is the archaeological site record, which is attached to the site record itself. As you can see, it has dimensions, artifacts, condition, nearest water, elevation, and other environmental data. It's all encapsulated on this form right here. Go through this again, and you will see this on the site records you will be given. This is a state parks copy. The Forest Service copy will vary a little bit in difference to how it's set up. The same basic information will be the same. This is a photographic record. You may not see one just like this, but you will have you may have individual photographs in the record with descriptions of what you're looking at on the site record. So you could see two different forms, either a listing or pictures with the explanation on it. This is a site sketch map, and it's a bird's eye view. Generally, it's constructed by pacing and compass bearings. Information is collected in the woods, and sketches are done in the woods and then brought back and finalized in the office. This is done by an archaeologist named John Betts. He does probably the best site sketch maps we have down in the forest. You can see going through here, you should look at the legend and compare the legend to the site sketch map. And you'll see everything is documented. He has different features on there. And this is basically an overview. If you were a bird flying over the site, this is what you'd see. This is a panel description. Every time you have a petroglyph site, you have the overview, site skill overview, as well as a panel sketch or a feature sketch. It can be called either one. Doesn't matter which one is called because it captures the same data. You'll have the site name, you'll have the petroglyph elements, the rock edge, things like that. You'll have a picture of what the element looks like. Usually these are all drawn to scale. Upper right-hand corner, you see the scale. So each and every petroglyph site will have one of these. Well, actually, archaeological site will have one of these. This is a USGS quadrangle map. This is attached to the site record. And you can see here the circles going around the site. This, of course, is a fictitious site location, but you will see that on this quadrangle map, and it will help, which will help you get to the site along with the rest of the site record. This is a rock art record. Sometimes there is a rock art record, but it's captured as a feature, as I mentioned earlier. Take some time to go through this, and if you have any questions, again, bring this up at the monitoring session, field session. Site monitoring form. Okay, site monitoring form. This is, for instance, here, a rock art form that was developed about 10 years ago. Down below, you'll see there's information. It has current information there. Utilize this form with the current information. And so use that. There is another form later on. You'll see that it has old information. Please disregard that. Only use this information here. Okay, so this is the first part of the form. It has a site, the name, the monitor, the dates, monitors, agency, general location. Fill the information out as best you can. For the monitors here, we need to know who the driver is. We need to know the hours. We need to know the mileage that you traveled. This information is important because we have a recent funding that was provided to Princess Here Rock Art that will provide money for mileage as well as lunches for those who monitor the sites. So that information we gather at the end of the season, and then we'll provide a check to those who request it. It says given rate, and we'll let information be available to people later on. Now this here is the site located. It gives you the datum. Go through each one of these on your site record and put a yes or no by it as you see if you go through the site record and compare this to your monitoring form. So anyway, review this and then go on to the next one. Disturbances, describe it, type of, the mechanics of it. Say if it's been pecked on there by somebody else, or use incised on it, provide that information. Or recommended action. It could be such as additional monitoring, law enforcement, things like that could be recommended. Put your best guess and confer with Bill or myself, and we'll help you fill the form out if you have any questions. Anything you want to add to the site record, you can document here or on the site record, or both, preferably both. So if you find a new element, you want to document it there. Let us know what it looks like. Attach a photograph would be great. Any drawings that you might do, attach those as well. This is a completed example of a monitoring form. You can see all the forms are filled in. You can see the disturbances are noted, scratches are noted, photographs were taken. They're all documented here. So anyway, utilize this as your kind of your go-to form to see how to fill one out at. And the bottom down here says Tahoe TNF emergency. Please disregard this information because it's now old and it's been updated in an earlier form. So contact information will be forwarded to the forest archaeologist, or more precisely, the heritage program manager by the end of September. In case of vandalism, there's 2 phone numbers listed. Please use those, and hopefully you'll have a cell phone and be able to get out and get a hold of somebody in time. If not, you get back in the office, call the Tahoe, and contact me as well.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about monitoring agreements that you need to read and sign. I'll touch on each of these individually. So this is our site monitor application and our monitoring agreement. So you can look at these on your own. And most of these things should be found on our website, sarahrockart.com. We do have a section of resources, which includes materials for site monitors. And then, we're producing this in May of 2022, so some things will change, some things will be updated. But anyway, we do have a number of things on our website. We also have a Code of Ethics confidentiality agreement that you have to sign. This is found under our membership section on our website. Also, release of liability for you to sign this. If it's not on the website, we'll furnish this to you. And all of our documents, again, hopefully will be found on our website. And then they're returned to us, which could be through our PO box or perhaps directly to Nolan or I or whoever is in charge of site monitoring at the time. And this is our website again, sarahrockart.com. And I'll also mention that our field work is the next step in this training after you complete this part with the classroom part. And in our field work, we will go to one or two rock art sites and we'll go over in more detail about using site records and monitoring forms, about how to analyze a site, to look for and document changes, also the use of GPS and compass and other information. So thank you very much for taking part in our training. It's very valuable work that you'll be doing as site monitors, and we greatly appreciate that.